We always said collectively in our family we wanted to leave the land better for the next generation. That was handed down from my grandmother to my father, and now from me to my daughters.
The Lightfoot family has been farming in the Annapolis Valley for 8 generations. So I would be the 8th, my father the 7th.
I grew up in the town of Wolfville. My father had a barber shop in there, so I was a bit of a town kid, but my heart was out here in the country with my grandmother.
She was a very fine lady who demanded a lot of attention and respect.
My grandmother had a big market garden and an apple farm, and she didn't really spray it or tend it. She just picked the apples. They had scabs on them, so be it. She would pick me up after school often because my parents worked late. I would run wild down here through the apple trees and ride through the woods. In the downturn of the apple industry, they sold land in the 60s to basically sustain their house and to provide them a bit of an income. And I just remember a lot of talk when I was a child. There seemed to be this shame, or there seemed to be this cloud over our family for having to sell this land.
Growing up, he learned from them how important it was to them, and seeing them lose a bit of the land and seeing other families sell their farmland and developments go in. I think as he matured, he realized how kind of tragic that was in a sense.
I came back here when I was 19 years old. It had dwindled down to about 9 acres of land and just the house, no buildings, no livestock. And in the 90s, through the course of hard work and sacrifice, me with a young family, we slowly built it up.
They were commercial poultry farmers, which brought a lot of stability and security to the farm. It allowed us to buy back a lot of land that we had lost over the previous generations.
My grandmother was extremely proud and satisfied every time I was able to purchase a building lot. It actually fueled me to keep going and to be more aggressive. When I started to think about, grapevines and being able to commercialize a product on this piece of land, it really appealed to us.
We decided to diversify the farm. We had great interest for wine and drinking it ourselves. I ended up taking a sommelier program after my travel and tourism background.
When I had the opportunity to farm it the way I wanted to farm it, I went back to the way my grandmother taught me. She would cultivate it using compost and animal manures and no real synthetic fertilizers. And so it put us into thinking about organics. We started to dabble back and bring cattle back onto the farm and sheep to try to make the farm whole again.
We first planted in 2009 with the hopes at that time that we were really just expanding in the farm and starting in a new industry here in Nova Scotia.
When we first planted them, they completely defoliated. They had downy mildew so bad in the first season. We said, oh, everyone was right. These plants are not going to survive in our wet maritime climate. That we said, oh my Christ, what have we done? We thought everybody was advising us correctly then, at that point, to go against organics and biodynamics. And yet we stayed true to the vision, and the next year they defoliated maybe a month later. Then the following year they kept their leaves on until the fruit was picked. And now, 10 years in, the plants are very, very healthy. They've developed what I call an immunity, and we still plant new plants every year.
We had no intentions of taking it probably to the level that we are now, producing our own and packaging and labeling and putting our name on it.
We're no longer nomads. We're farming in various different farms around the valley. We're here. This is our namesake, and this is our legacy. You have to stay true to the vision of what you want to achieve and not give up on the first few years.
I'm incredibly proud to be part of that and to be able to be here and to be working with my family on a legacy project. It means a lot.
Michael and I, from our heart, both feel very strong that it is all about the best life for your family, and farming is definitely where that's at.